I'm Jenny, and I recently hit my goal of losing 69 pounds of baby weight. And in this video, I'll share with you exactly how I did it. I gave birth to my twins Max and Harry in December of 2021. On the day they were born, I weighed in at 242 pounds. Cut to 18 months later, and I am back down to my pre-pregnancy weight of 173. I have some more weight to lose to get to my ultimate goal, but this is a huge milestone in my weight loss journey. 69 pounds is no joke, and in this video I'm going to talk about the food that I ate, my exercise program, lessons I learned, and I'm going to show you some hard data in the form of DEXA scans and continuous glucose monitoring. Hopefully this video will give you some tips to help you on your post-pregnancy weight loss journey. I break my weight loss up into 3 phases. Phase 1 was just the natural reduction of weight after giving birth, between 2 babies, 2 placentas, fluids, breastfeeding, all that jazz. I was able to drop 26 pounds. I went from 242 down to 216 with very little effort. I didn't watch what I ate. I didn't exercise, anything like that. It was the newborn phase, and I had 2 of them. So I was literally just trying to stay alive. Losing weight was not high on the priority list. Phase 1 lasted 3 months. Phase 2 is where I actually started trying to lose weight. I went from 216 pounds down to 194, and it took me 11 months to lose those 22 pounds. Phase 3 is where I lost the remaining 21 pounds. I went from 194 down to 173, and it took me 4 months to do it. As you can see, Phase 3 was a hell of a lot shorter than Phase 2, for about the same amount of weight. And that was all due to the food that I was eating. And the kicker is, in Phase 3, I did not have to do any kind of calorie restriction. But we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But I'd like to start with Phase 2, because in Phase 1, I wasn't making any effort to lose the weight, it just came off. And while Phase 2 had slower weight loss progression than Phase 3, I did learn a lot in Phase 2 that helped me to be more successful in Phase 3. First, let's talk about food and the program that I followed in Phase 2. I used the Noom app. Noom is a psychology-based weight loss app that helps you to develop healthy and sustainable eating habits. I had had some success with Noom before I'd gotten pregnant. I'd lost a couple of pounds, so I figured, why not just try it again? On Noom, I was eating a real food diet of fruits, vegetables, and meats. I had very little ultra-processed foods, very little foods with added sugars, and no vegetable seed oils. I don't eat gluten because it makes my joints hurt, so I wasn't eating any bread or pasta. Noom is basically a higher carb, medium protein, low fat diet. So here's a sample meal plan. I did not stray from this very much. I didn't have a ton of variety. So for breakfast, I'd eat around 8 a.m. I would have 2 hard-boiled eggs, 3 ounces of rotisserie chicken breast, a banana, and then I'd have super creamer in my coffee. Next, I would eat lunch between 10:30 and noon, and that would consist of half a cup of Costco quinoa salad, a can of Amy's chunky vegetable soup, either 2 Costco chicken skewers or 4 ounces of rotisserie chicken breast meat, and a Honeycrisp apple. I like to have dinner time around 3 to 4 p.m. and usually I would have my salad of champions, and that was lettuce, tomato, white onion, 2 hard-boiled eggs, a can of Costco chicken, a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, white and red wine vinegar, and salt and pepper. And then I would normally have a snack almost every day. I would either have it right after the salad or I'd have it around 7 or 8 p.m. And this was my only really kind of like ultra processed food that I ate. And it was brownie a la mode Carb Smart. I would do 1 cup of that with a couple of tablespoons of Hershey's sugar-free chocolate syrup and a sprinkling of pumpkin seeds. Now, if I had a workout, I would add a Premier protein shake to that food for the day. I ended up anywhere between 1,300 calories on the low end, all the way up to like 1,800 calories on the high, with an average of about 1,600 calories per day. My macro split was 50, 30, 20, carbs, protein, and fat. During Phase 2, I was also consuming alcohol 3 to 5 times per month, and I would be pretty consistent on the Noom diet for like a week or 2, and then I would have a day where I just went off the rails. So consistency on this diet was very difficult for me. Supplement-wise, I was taking a prenatal vitamin and iron a couple of times a week, and then I would do my Magic Mind shot. Magic Mind is a nootropic-based productivity shot that just helped me focus. As far as workouts go, here is what a typical workout would look like if I had time. So if I was going to the gym, I would start off by doing 15 minutes in the sauna, and I would do all of my stretching in there. Then I would go out and I would do 10 minutes of a warm-up, usually on the elliptical or on the Stairmaster. From there, I would head over to the strength training machines. I would do 6 to 10 machines. I would do 3 sets of 10 to 14 reps. I would basically mix the reps up just so that I wouldn't get bored. As far as the different machines I do a split of like either legs one day, pull one day, push another, or sometimes I would just mix up the machines and do a full body workout. I like to lift heavy, but not so heavy that I'm hurting myself. And my goal is I want to make it through the 3 sets, but I want those last reps and that last set to be really hard, or even to the point where I can't finish those last reps. And if I had time, I would finish with another 10 to 15 minutes on the Stairmaster or the elliptical. Now, if I couldn't make it to the gym, newborns, kind of hard to go, I would do a home workout, strength training / cardio workout. It's called Les Mills Body Pump. It's an hour long, and you can do it from home if you have a bar and some weights and like a stair stepper. On my rest days, I would walk. I would still try to make it to the sauna. Now, towards the end of phase 2, I had pretty much stopped going to the gym, and instead of strength training, I was just consistently walking 4 to 6 times per week, about 2 miles per day. So what did I learn during phase 2? Well, I learned that I could lose weight, but I had to stay really strict and regimented if I was using the NuM method. And I think that was because of the calorie restriction. I was starving all of the time, and it's so hard to stay consistent when you're hungry. I learned that I absolutely have to keep my stress low, and I really need to focus on sleep. I need to get enough sleep, otherwise my body is not going to release any of the extra weight. I also learned that I have to listen to my body. If I'm tired, I need to sleep. If I'm hungry, I need to eat. I just need to be really cued in to what's going on in my body. Now, I already knew this, but it was really confirmed to me during phase 2 that drinking is detrimental to health and it makes weight loss really hard. I basically figured out that I just can't drink if I'm wanting to lose any kind of significant weight. These last 2 I want to talk about in depth a little bit more because I really took these to heart and it really helped me in phase 3. So the first one is I need to approach weight loss from a place of love. I had never been this heavy in my life, so I was experiencing a lot of negative thinking and self-loathing. And I was approaching my weight loss from that negative mind space. But a friend of mine who's really into spiritual life coaching opened my eyes to the fact that my body has gotten me through a lot of really hard stuff and that I should love and nurture it. Something clicked for me, and I realized that if I'm thinking negatively all the time and begrudgingly trying to lose weight, it's going to come off much slower. But if I nurture my body and I come from a place of love, my body will respond better to that. I try to treat my body well by feeding it real food, getting exercise, getting sunlight, getting sleep, and doing everything I would do, say, to nurture a child or someone that I love. Once I started thinking about my body in that way, I started to have more positive results in the rest of my life, including on my weight loss journey. The lesson here is to switch your thoughts from negative to nurturing and loving. Treat your body with love and respect, and you'll be in a much better mind space. I also experienced a lot of weight loss plateaus while I was in phase 2, and I think I've figured out what was causing them. So let's talk about that for a minute. I think the plateaus I experienced were caused by inconsistencies in diet and exercise. I was drinking alcohol 3 to 5 times per month, so that sure didn't help. I wasn't getting enough sleep, and I had some pretty high stress levels. Newborns are hard, and I had 2 of them. So that really played into it as well. Also, calorie restriction is tough because you're always hungry. So it's just hard to stay consistent when you're starving. In the end of phase 2, I basically plateaued in the 190s. It was from like October to December, and it was very frustrating. I knew I needed to do something different. I needed to jumpstart my weight loss. And that brings us to phase 3, where I lost 21 pounds in 4 months. But before we go into phase 3, if you're enjoying this video, if you could give it a like, that just lets the YouTube algorithm know that you're getting something out of it, and it will push this video out to more people that could benefit from this information. So in phase 3, I changed my diet dramatically. I started following a carnivore diet, and I went from 194 pounds to 173 pounds in 4 months. So a little background on this, my husband had been trying to get me to try the carnivore diet for months. So finally, I just did some research. I read a few books. I watched a ton of videos. I decided to try it for 30 days, and I started at the end of December 2022. The carnivore diet is basically an extreme keto diet where you're consuming almost 0 carbs. My version of the carnivore diet is all meat, so beef, pork, chicken, seafood, any kind of meat. I also eat eggs and I do butter. In the beginning, I was also consuming dairy products in the form of like cheddar cheese on my burgers or half and half in my coffee. But I found that when I'm consuming dairy, I don't lose weight as fast. And I also kind of felt a little blah. So I have cut dairy completely out of my version of the carnivore diet. I have 30 and 90-day carnivore diet update videos where I dive into food, exercise, DEXA scans, continuous glucose monitoring, weight measurements, and so much more. So if you're interested in those, I'm gonna link them at the end of this video. So let's talk about a sample meal plan while I was on the carnivore diet. I would typically eat 2 meals per day. And the first one, breakfast, I would have around 8:30 in the morning when I was feeding the boys. I would have like 2 hard-boiled eggs and maybe 2 or 3 sausage patties, and then I would have black coffee. I wouldn't eat again until my final meal of the day, which I like to have between 2 and 3 p.m. 4:30 p.m. is about the absolute latest I like to eat because I like to get like a 16-hour fast in. Intermittent fasting is amazing, and I really wanted to get that fast in. So 2 to 3 p.m. is about my sweet spot for dinner. And what I'm eating at that time is like a big bowl of pot roast with no veggies, just the meat. Or I would do a 20 to 24 ounce ribeye steak with a pat of butter on top. Or I would do 5 eggs and 7 pieces of bacon. I would just mix it up every day. My typical macro split is 70% fat to 30% protein. And in that 30% protein, I'm really aiming to get at least 130 grams. As far as fat sources are concerned, I was really focused on eating fatty cuts of meat, but I would also use animal fats to cook with. So lard, suet, tallow, bacon grease, butter, ghee, any animal fat source. My calories were anywhere from 1,200 on the very low end, and that was rare that I ate that little, all the way up to like 2,500 to 2,700 calories per day. My average calories are anywhere between like 1,800 to 2,000 calories per day. Now, there's no calorie restriction needed when you're eating this much fat because fat is so satiating. Typical guidance on the carnivore diet is to eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Like you're gonna take that last bite and you're like, oof, I don't even know if I can eat this. You wanna eat to that point, and then you don't eat again until you're really hungry. That's how you can get away with eating like once a day or twice a day on the carnivore diet. Because of the no calorie restriction, I really didn't need to track my calories, but I did it for a few reasons. I wanted to make sure I was hitting that 70-30 fat to protein ratio. I wanted to make sure I was getting at least 130 grams of protein. And I'm getting that number. That's not just an arbitrary number. I'm getting that number because that is my ideal weight. And I just want to get 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. I could go all the way up to like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, actual body weight, or you could do more than that. But for me, I'm really aiming to get at least 130 grams of protein per day. Let's talk about exercise. I really didn't do a ton. I would do my walk 4 to 6 times per week, 2 miles. Maybe I'd throw in a couple of bursts of jogging in that, but for the most part, it was just walking, and I did very sporadic strength training during this time. I really focused in on self-care also during phase 3. I make sure I'm asleep by 10:30 at the absolute latest. My average right now is about 10 p.m. and I really would like to get that to 9:30 p.m., but that's proving to be difficult. Every morning I get up, I get the boys squared away, and then I head outside. I get some morning sunlight in my eyes to reset my circadian rhythm, and I do some morning reading and journaling. I also drink a 16-ounce glass of water that I mix my electrolytes in and 2 drops of iodine. Most people are iodine deficient, so I add those in as well. I'm doing the electrolytes because on the carnivore diet, especially in the beginning, your electrolyte levels can get a little wonky. This just ensures that I'm getting the amount of salt, magnesium, potassium that I need throughout the day, and it tastes delicious. I'll link those in the description below. I also recently started taking some supplements, so I'm taking vitamin D, K2, C, and a B complex. I've also started using an app called D-Minder. It's just a really cool app that helps you to determine how much vitamin D you're getting when you sit out in the sun and based on your supplementation. So I'm very interested to see if I can raise that vitamin D level. The first 30 days on carnivore, I lost 8 pounds, which was pretty amazing because from the Noom diet, I was only averaging about 2 pounds per month of weight loss. And that was if I was even losing weight because I had so many plateaus. After 90 days on the carnivore diet, I'd lost 15.5 pounds, 8 inches, and had gone down 2 dress sizes. In total, I lost 21 pounds in 4 months on the carnivore diet. I've now committed to eating this way for the long term because of the health benefits and because of how I feel. I rarely feel hungry. I don't have to worry about calories. I've got a bunch of energy and my skin looks great. I'm currently averaging about 1/2 pound to 2 pounds a week of weight loss. So in total, I lost 69 pounds in 18 months, mostly due to diet, walking, and some light strength training. As we finish up, I'd like to share with you some data comparing the weight loss in phase 2 to the weight loss in phase 3 in the form of DEXA scans and continuous glucose monitoring. Let's start with CGM data because I wanted to show you the difference in my blood glucose between eating the NutriSense diet and the carnivore diet. I started wearing a CGM or a continuous glucose monitor in September of 2022, so I got 3.5 months of blood glucose data before I started the carnivore diet. I'm using the NutriSense app. I am not sponsored by them yet. Call me. But I love their product and I put a link to it in the description below. Let's compare a few markers now so you can see how much diet affected my blood glucose. We're going to look at 5 blood glucose markers and I'll pop the NutriSense diet and the carnivore diet up side by side so that you can see the differences. First, we have my glucose average. While I was on NutriSense, that was 90, and while I was on the carnivore diet, it was 73. 90 for an average is actually pretty good, but 73 is even better. Next, we have max glucose. It's exactly how it sounds. It's the maximum that your glucose hit during the measurement period. On NutriSense, that was 194, and on carnivore, it was 164. And that was actually because I'd had a higher carb cheat meal, so that wasn't even related to the carnivore diet. Next, we have morning average. This is my blood glucose upon waking. While I was on the NutriSense diet, it was 91. While I was on carnivore, it was 75. I was waking with much lower blood glucose. Next, let's do sleep average. During NutriSense, it was 86. During carnivore, it was 70. Let's finish up with glucose variability, which is very important. You want to keep your glucose variability below 15. Having a lower glucose variability just means that you're not having drastic spikes and dips in your blood glucose. On NutriSense, my variability was 15, and on carnivore, it was 10. So it was confirmed in the CGM data that at least blood glucose-wise, the carnivore diet provided more stable and low readings than the NutriSense program. And that makes complete sense, because if you're not consuming carbs, you're not gonna have as many spikes in your blood sugar. Now, that's not to say that you're not gonna have any spikes, because lack of sleep, stress, hormonal shifts, all of those can cause spikes in your blood glucose. But if you're not pumping your body full of sugar, which is what carbs are in any form, your blood glucose will be more stable. I also had a few DEXA scans, both before and after the carnivore diet. A DEXA scan is a great way to measure your body composition, and it can give you some insights into your body fat percentage and your bone density. My first DEXA scan was in September. That was my baseline. I went for a second DEXA in January after I'd done carnivore for 30 days. And that you can see my fat loss, my bone density was good in both. You can see your visceral fat. Your visceral fat is the fat that's inside around your organs. You do not want to have very much of that. It was already not super high, even relative to my highest weight, but it was pregnancy weight. I hadn't weighed that for, an extended period of time. So I didn't expect to have too much visceral fat, but in every DEXA scan that I have gotten subsequently, my visceral fat has gone down. I'm continuing the carnivore diet for the long term with the goal of losing 40 more pounds by the time that I turn 40. So I'll be chronicling that journey in the coming months. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you would like to follow along. I hope this video helps, and if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments section. I've linked a couple of products in the description along with a bunch of resources, books, articles, videos, things that you can dive a bit deeper into this topic if you're interested. I have 2 other videos where I go into much more detail about it. I'll link those on the screen now. Weight loss is one of those things where there's just like a ton of conflicting information floating around out there. Everyone wants to sell you on their program or their supplement. And I just wanted to be completely transparent about how I lost the weight. And it was mostly, I would say about 95% through diet. I really hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll see you next time.